Hey everybody. So I just wanted to do a quick look at NVDA one more time. I recently exited my trade, my full position on that yesterday. I had entered, this blue arrow shows where I had entered. This was Friday of last week. As you can see, I caught it on the way up a little bit, and then obviously it dropped down. So I was able to hit my first target here, right where you see this black line here, and I will refer back to that in a second. So that was my first target, and I lucked out in that I just hit it. And then obviously we saw it, start to work its way down. It's been, since it hit this high here, it appears to, it dropped way down here, gapped up. And then since it gapped up, it just appears to be on a short-term downtrend. Overall, if you look at here, and you look at, if you see these three blue lines here, if you look at this bigger time frame, because it just, to point out this is an hour candle time frame. But anyway, so this is the bottom here. And if you look, I mean, it's clearly on an uptrend here. The challenge is, we really haven't seen this pull back more than 50%, which, as I'm learning the supply and demand strategy, a pullback of 50% or more is really, really important in the time frame that you're trading. Obviously, you might be trading in a shorter time frame, so it doesn't necessarily have to, pull back to here for somebody to get into it. But for me, I'm kind of looking at this through the lens of, okay, here's the longer time frame here. And actually, this is not accurate. I need to raise it because it's hit over here. So let's see what happens when I bring it up, right? Because that's as high as it's gotten since this bottom. It never, so far, I can get rid of this. I can get rid of this stuff. I mean, I'll keep this. Actually, I'll just get rid of it so it's not as confusing. So this is just me kind of decluttering a little bit the charts. But anyway, so it goes, here's the bottom of this kind of sideways movement here. And then it slowly works its way up with some small pullbacks along the way. Some consolidation here. So this is a potential interesting point. But it does eventually get up to 275, a little over. It appears to be kind of working its way down. So I would definitely be interested if it starts to pull back below 249.42. I would start to look at some possible demand zones, some shorter time frames demand zones within this demand zone. But you could also see some consolidation here. So there's some potential there, but that's probably later on if you look at kind of how it's dropping within these hour candles. Right now I'm looking at this point right here. This was today. This is Tuesday, March 28th. I'm glad I got out of my position. I did end up, my former video, or my recent video on this, I talked about how I raised my stop up on my second half of the position. So I had hit my target, my first target. My second target I did not hit, but I was able to raise my stop up to, I think I entered at, let's say 263 or 90, somewhere around there. And then I ended up exiting around like 267, give or take. Quite honestly, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but I exited around here because I raised my stop up for the second half of my position. So I ended up getting out around right here. So this is where I pretty much was done, right? Oops, sorry. So this is roughly where I was completely out. I had no shares left. I'm glad as of now because it appears to be working its way down. There was a big drop here. However, I do think there's a potential opportunity that I'm looking at. So I looked at the consolidation here and I identified that as a supply zone, right? So we had some consolidation, then a pretty big drop. So I'm going to call this the supply zone. It's just entering the supply zone. So it could certainly just get rejected and keep moving down. And again, I'm very curious to see if it pulls back here. I'd be interested in possibly going long if we had a good demand zone somewhere in this area. Again, I would have to look at that. But for now, I'm curious to see what happens here. if I can see more movement up through this supply zone and exceeds this line here. So let me get these blue candles out of the way now that I talked about, my recent entry and exit. But now, if I can see some movement above this black line, you may not be able to see it, but I have another 3 blue lines. It's not super clear here, but I have 3 blue lines here. So it has since, if this is the high point and this is the low point, it has officially worked its way back up to that halfway point here. So this is really a turning point. I think you could see it, you consolidate a little bit and then drop, consolidate, move up. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm definitely interested if it can break this line here, 269.99, right? So if it can basically hit get above 270, then I would be interested in seeing where it goes, right? So obviously seeing how high it goes, and then trying to get the pullback somewhere in here, assuming that it pulls back more than 50% off of this low. So again, now let me just map it out. So from here, if I can keep going, let's say to here. So now I've crossed this previous high. So now I have a higher high. And then here is where I would enter. And ideally, it just hops up and goes here or beyond. That would be great. You never know. I mean, what would be even better? I mean, who knows? But what would be great is if we saw something that got me even higher than this high here. So if it went above here, right, then I would probably take more time to figure out, like, there's a potential demand here, right here. So I would enter there. So let me be more clear there. Let me just clarify. So this little consolidation. So I got one big move here. I got one big move here. And in between that, I've got 3 kind of smaller candles there. So if it were to go above this 275, a little over that, if it were to go above that, let me pull this down a little bit. If it were to go above that, then I'd be interested in entering here around 270.94. And I would just set my target at whatever this high is. So it would look something like, I would probably go, let's see what it would be if I did here to be safer there. Yeah. So that's that's a pretty good, obviously we could be tighter, we could go potentially here as well. And that just, makes the R&R better. Obviously it decreases or it increases the chances of getting stopped out. So it's obviously just a choice. So, what I might do is have half of a position here and then, and then do one more, but be a little bit more conservative. So just do a stop under this initial supply and maybe a lower target there, right? Something along these lines. So, 1.35 R&R on this broader move. And then, for the smaller move, it looks like it's a better ratio, but obviously a tighter stop. So, risk management definitely is a factor here, but I'm definitely enjoying watching NVDA, NVIDIA. It seems to be definitely has some long potential. It's just, I would not go, and again, I'm very new. I don't know. I could be way off here, but I would say that right now I would not go long on this, in my opinion, because it's hitting a supply and it certainly hasn't broken through that supply. So you could, as much as you could see all of this good stuff, what also could happen is you could see something like, it hits this supply, gets rejected and breaks through. But again, even if it hits here, I'm still interested in this because of that bigger picture pullback. So you never know, it could do something like this, and then you could start to see it, swing up. You never know. Obviously, this one would take longer to happen, right? I mean, I guess it could be a big drop. You could see a big drop, but we'll see. But that's definitely something I'm going to continue to watch. So if you're interested in NVIDIA, to me, there's a lot of good price action to look at. Definitely some movement. There's a lot of stocks right now that just appear to be going left to right. So I like NVIDIA right now just simply because it's not. It appears to be moving up or down. So anyways, we'll keep watching that and we'll see what happens. Thanks. Take care.